Dr. Lee and welcome to the House of Wooburg General Hospital. Today's medical case study, although specific to a particular deck, is designed to draw your attention to the questions you should be asking when performing surgery on your own decks, including the relationship between game plan, sequence and plays, and your mana base. Oh, I've just heard we have a patient on the way in dire need of a deck overhaul. Ah yes, it's the Dragon. Someone needs to get a hold of that gurney. Let's have a look at this chart. Ah yes, as I thought, classic symptoms. Acute swelling of the budget, inflammation of the mana pips, gosh that sounds painful, and low LAND count. In my professional opinion, it's time for a mana base transplant. Before you scrub in, you might like to review the patient's medical history in my previous 5-colour EDH deck tech. Make sure to subscribe now in case you can't find your way back. 35 lands? How has the patient been able to function with such a low LAND count? Ah, I see. His arteries are clogged with a full set of fetch and shock lands, and I see some battle bond lands in there too. I suppose the Dragon being a mana rock in the command zone, reducing the cost of changelings by 1 generic mana, has something to do with these lifestyle choices. Plus, he has turn 3 friends in the waiting room, probably watching an MTG Specs deck tech on their prepaid cricket phones, who help with a low LAND count by drawing lots of cards through those cost-reduced ninjas, assassins and werewolves. That'll help with a fractured opening hand. Right, let's whip out those expensive lands so we can deal with this acute swelling of the budget. Goodness, a mana confluence and a cavern of souls. Let's remove those too. I heard the Dragon was against organ donation, but then he had a change of heart. Anybody? Medical humour. Let's see what we've left. Inexpensive options including these 2 utility lands, but can they help operate our deck with its current mana pip requirement? We will have to review this after some bed rest. I would prescribe the World Tree for all 5-colour decks. We can cope with a little tempo loss from being a tapped land when the future prognosis is having all our lands tapping for 5 mana. Take one of these and call me on turn 6. To understand the patient's inflamed budget, we should ask the question all prospective deck surgeons should ask. What does your deck want to do? This patient's rainbow family wants to put players in the morgue through combat or a couple of alternative win cons. This patient's diet needs to include more greens. I prescribe the new Capenna fetch lands. They find us one of 3 basics and we will include those that find us those leafy greens. Antioxidants. And we will take into account those lands coming to play tapped as we prescribe more lands. Let's pop the Dragon in the full body scanner and have a look at those mana pips. It occurs to me at this point with the patient's early game, which of its spells have a tricky mana requirement. Mari, though providing our changelings with Death Touch, is double black. If we're focusing on leafy greens paired with one other colour, can we rely on double black on turn 3? And as we need to increase the patient's LAND count from 35 to at least 37, because of our budget, Mari has to go. Unsettled Mariner and Catilda want 2 specific colours on turn 2. We need extraction stat. I suggest a reduction in changelings will put the game plan on the critical list, so let's swap out the Unsettled Mariner for a Rattlesnake card, Venomous Changeling. Realmbreaker is our next extraction. The patient doesn't have the luxury of hoping for lands in the opponent's graveyard with our new budget mana base. I suggest a scaled nurturer that guarantees mana. I'm looking at Ravaz and Wreath here. The Wreath is a healthy prospect in the mid-game when changelings arrive during visiting hours, but Ravaz asks 2 specific colours on turn 3 and doesn't have haste. Let's chop him for a green ramp spell that finds us a forest land, a Nature's Law. It's clear the inflammation of the mana base has caused quite a lot of stress for the Dragon. I prescribe further rest and recuperation in Cowtime at one of these 4 locations. Common dual lands focus on the forest subtype which can be found with Nature's Law. Careful selection between these 4 will find us one other colour. Inexpensive treatment, let's put in all 4. Let the healing begin with more green ramp. I suggest search for tomorrow for multicoloured decks. Suspend will put us on a small waiting list, but we will always need a second colour. Into the North and Farseek can get us one of those Cowtime dual lands, and Cultivate will provide the basic building blocks of a healthy lifestyle. However, these cuts are going to have to come from somewhere. Let's ask the question, what is your deck doing during the mid to end game? We will need to extract Miriam. Feels like an indulgent more is more win con. which contributes to those inflamed mana pips. Both of these battles feel like experimental procedures, not backed by medical science. I cut them also. We also can't wait for Anesh on turn 6. The cost reduction and the card advantage might be too late. Let's prescribe a lair, but don't take more than one, as consuming these in multiples will make you feel nauseous. They check for other non-lair lands or are sacrificed. Choosing Rift's lair to prioritise these 3 colours that are the most impactful in the early game: green ramp, red for ramp when Tovolar's Gruul colours for even more card draw, and white for protection. Time for some homeopathic remedy with Ancient Ziggurat to tap for any colour of mana when casting a creature, as creatures are so key to our gameplay strategy. Quick! Get the crash cart. We are still seeing an inflammation of the mana pips. A budget mana base, the heart of the deck, can struggle with those mana requirements. What spells have 2 of the same pips? White, red and black. Red isn't until the late game, but black has key spells for draw and a big restabilising board wiping Living Death. So let's prescribe some black and green basics. 8 forests, 4 swamps, which is medicine we could safely mix with the Woodland Cemetery also. This patient is on the road to recovery. Let's address some of the lack of white cells in the LA ND count with Cave of Kolios, as it taps for black and white, and we have identified double pick cards in those colours, and Sandstep Citadel for black, white and green. It's getting clear that we only have 7 land slots left, so Griffin and Contested are luxuries the deck can't accommodate. Back to the operating table. A Murmuring Bosk will be a tap tri-land in most decks, but not in this, as often we have a changeling to hand. But 2 tap tries that search for important colours is the best medicine. I feel like there is a blue deficiency in this mana base. Here's a Yavimir Coast, cheap and comes into play untapped. It goes in. We have 4 changelings in blue, and it's essential for an early Yuriko 2. Time to add more basics: 3 islands, 2 mountains and 2 plains. Final extraction. We just can't fund a necrotic sliver in this economy. 3 mana to cast, then activate, and the additional cost of sacrificing a sliver. No, we are better off booking a Wrestle Vacation for 2 forests of our choice with Sky Shroud Claim. Let's review the patient's progress. A complete success. The swelling has gone down from a land budget of $718 to $44. A $674 swelling reduction. The inflammation has also reduced from 27 to 19. I can hear a more restful heartbeat. And the LAND count has increased by 2. Oh look, the Dragon has made a complete budget recovery and is outside enjoying my limited skills at creating a firework display. Damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a graphic designer. I hope this visit to the House of Wooburg General Hospital has drawn attention to the fact that there is more at play than what is the perfect and healthy 5C mana base. The patient will tell you what it needs, the lands will tell you what spells it can comfortably cast when you ask the simple question, what is my deck doing and when is it doing it? If you enjoyed your consultation today, a like and subscribe would mean the world to me. And if you have a deck list that needs emergency surgery and doesn't have to be in 5 colours, well, comment below and I'll get my scalpel out and perform the operation on your behalf. Until next time, I've been Dr. Lee and this has been MTG Specs.